Hello, my name is Rain. In this video, I'll demonstrate my process to show how I created a new character from scratch based on a written prompt. Skip ahead to see me get to work. Before I get started, I'd like to give a brief explanation of why I made this character in the first place. I'm part of a character design group on DeviantArt called Creature Exchange, which works like a secret Santa. You write a wish list of traits you want to see in a character design, and then you're assigned to draw someone else's wish list. At the end of the month, you get to post what you drew and see how another person in the group interpreted your wish list. I love seeing how creative people get in these groups. Sometimes, however, an artist can't complete the prompt and someone may be left without their half of the exchange. In case that happens, there's an opportunity for volunteers to help out. I volunteered for this design because it sounded like an interesting prompt and I thought it would be a good subject for my first video on this channel. Now that I've given you a bit of background info, let's get started. The first thing I always do is to read the prompt the whole way through to understand what the person wants. With this prompt, it was left very open to interpretation. The person who made the wish list just wanted an anthro design based on a particular element which I could choose from the list he put together. I chose osmium for a few arbitrary reasons. 1, I didn't know anything about this element, and 2, it was easy to pronounce. Those were important to me because I wanted to show you how I research things I don't know. I also wanted to be able to say the name of this element without stumbling all the time. The next thing I do is to visit their profile and gallery to get a handle on who they are and what they usually seem to like when it comes to characters. This is a good practice if you make custom designs for people, since it will give you a good idea of what they might like. I didn't spend too much time on that step here because he said that this design was going to be given to someone else, so let's get back to work. I open a new tab and find the Wikipedia page for osmium. The name's origin jumped out to me immediately. Osmium comes from a word that means smell in Greek. I want to base the anthro on something related tangentially to this element, and smell was a great starting point. Lots of animals here to choose from. How about a bear? I like this one because the word for bear in Spanish is oso, which is another thing that ties it to osmium in my mind. Narrowing down the animal to the specific type of bear was pretty easy. I didn't know about this spectacled bear, and they seemed interesting with the markings on their face and throat, so that's the one I chose. When choosing animals for an anthro OC, I usually like to keep in mind the markings, because they can get covered up by the clothes pretty easily. This bear doesn't have that problem because its markings are only on the face and chest. The last part of research and planning is about the character itself. I wanted to do a male spectacled bear, but I needed more to go on than that. Osmium is durable and conductive. In terms of a character, it puts me in mind of someone who is sturdy, reliable, and good with electronics. This is why I decided to make him an electrician or an inventor in a sci-fi or futuristic setting. Perhaps he is working on a mech or some kind of spaceship repair. After gathering a couple of reference photos from Google Images and creating a new canvas in Fire Alpaca, I'm ready to start on the first concept sketches. These are always fast and sloppy, but it's the best way I know to synthesize my inspirations into visible shapes quickly. I started out with the clothing. I wanted to include a nifty tool belt and some kind of power tool. I got frustrated pretty soon since it wasn't working out how I imagined. Scrapping the first base, I drew him again in a different pose and started working on the basic details. I finally got over my art block when I had the idea to give him these armored boots. The shape of the knee armor made me think about where else I could repeat it, like the belt buckle and his tool belt straps. I start on the proper sketch after I have the concept down. This consists of 2 layers, one for the basic shape of the body, which functions as a framework, and the other one for all details like the face and clothes. Because I drew him with goggles that cover his face, I did a bonus portrait to show his eyes, and I took the opportunity to give him a different expression from the one I chose for the main reference. I drew the face in detail before getting started on the full body version in order to make sure his face would turn out right once I added the goggles. I thought it would be fitting to give a spectacled bear some snazzy eyewear. I also had a hard time with his nose for some reason, but with plenty of patience and redrawing, I managed to get a result I was happy with. The rest of the sketching process is pretty straightforward. I started with the biggest things first and worked my way down to the tiny details like the zipper. Inking the sketch is a bit more tedious because I have to trace over my first drawing to end up with clean lines. I always flip the image back and forth during the sketch and line phase to fix any lopsided bits. I also like to scroll in and out to see it from a distance and up close. Colors can be tough to figure out. First, I started with his fur. I referenced the bear photos, but I did not use the color picker. I just eyeballed it and edited the colors later. I like to make the markings true to the original species, but still simple enough to draw again comfortably. Osmium is a metal, so for his clothes I went with different shades of gray. I also wanted to include pale yellow because osmium tetroxide often has a light yellow tint. The blue is from the description of the metallic form, which has a silvery blue sheen. I balanced these with an almost black shade, which helps offset his dark fur and create more contrast in the design. Also notice where I hide the lines layer a few times. This is because black lines can create a false sense of contrast when in reality the colors would not mesh together. Looking at how your colors interact without borders between them is a good way to find out if they're a good match. When I make the color palette at the end, I just use the rectangle select and start filling in parts of it with the different colors that I used. This is a good place to summarize what I just did. First, I read the prompt to know what the other person wanted. Then I researched and gathered my reference photos. After making the concept sketches, I decided on the pose and outfit and got to work on the proper sketch before adding line art and coloring it all in. And we're done! From start to finish, it took me about 4 hours, including research. This is the basic process I use for all my character exchange designs, which you can find on my site account, Spiral Teardrop. However, there are many other ways to make up characters. I plan on making other videos like this one to show you different methods of how to create characters. I hope you all enjoyed watching this. Let me know if you found this walkthrough helpful. I'd also like to know what your process is for creating new characters, so leave a comment. If you like this video, feel free to share it with people you know who might like it too. Thanks!